Hi, welcome to the video. My name's Diachronic, and today we're taking a look at my top 10 Titan exotics in Destiny 2. As you guys may well know, I am a Titan main, so I look forward to this every season. Especially considering one of our newer exotics is making a bit of a mix-up. I'm talking about you, Lorelei. And of course, as always, I have made a spreadsheet for this video, which can still be found at my Discord server, link in the description down below, on the channel #spreadsheetsdocs. And once you join, if you don't see the spreadsheets channel, you have to verify with the bot. And I know you guys probably heard this 100 times before, but these spreadsheets would not be possible without my patrons on Patreon. If you like these spreadsheets, you like how they are made and how often I make them, please consider checking out my Patreon down below, because without your help, I may have to stop making them. Anyways, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. On screen right now, this is my spreadsheet. Of its dark theme, color-coded. I don't think there's any links in this one, but they've got scores for PvE and PvP for every exotic in the game, as well as the top 10 and some honorable mentions as well. Now, obviously, if you want to know what the top 10 are, they're right there. You just go use them. You can also see the PvE PvP rankings. You don't need me for that, but the reasons why you'd use them, why they're ranked the way they are going to be very important. And moreover, the first half of this video, we're going to go over the top 10, and then we're going to go through all the unranked items after that. And let me tell you, there are a lot of unranked items that are still a lot of fun and very good, but I have to pick 10 for a top 10. Without further ado, let's go and get started with number 10. We have the Synthoceps, also similarly as good as it always has been. Increased melee lunge range and melee damage for PvP, and increased super damage for PvE, both of those being around when you're surrounded. And as always, those are really good for the respective modes. There's a lot of times where doing extra damage, especially in Grand Masters with your super, does make a big difference, although it does not work anymore with Glacial Quake, the Behemoth super from the Titan, which was my favorite use these days. Following that at number 8, we have the Aeon Safe. Pretty much exactly the same as all of the Aeon exotics, except for this one's for the Titan. And like the other ones, you can spawn in heavy ammo for your team by finishing a champion or a mini-boss enemy. On top of that, you can also finish a major for special ammo, and do that whenever you want. You can combine this with the Lucent finisher from the artifact and get double heavy ammo breaks. So Grandmasters this season are a lot easier than they've ever been. This is one of those default exotics if you don't know what to use, which Titan, likely you're using Ursa Furiosa or using Missile Titan with Falling Star. If you don't know what exotic you want to use, likely on the Hunter or the Warlock, slap this on, spawn heavy for your team for free. On top of the other, by the way, there's like a lot of other things it gives you as well, so it's kind of crazy. Following that at number 7, we have the Doomfang Pauldron. It's probably one of the most fun exotics in the game. Used to be where you could get an infinite super, but since they changed Void to Void 3.0, there's been a few different changes which actually nerf this exotic as a whole. Now, firstly, Void 3.0 is really good. This exotic with it is also really good. Allowing your super to last a lot longer is very, very good. Now, what they changed is the Code of the Aggressor from last season, the Bottom Tree Void, allowed you to get grenade from grenade hits, which allowed your shield throws, which count as a grenade, to get shield throws off of 3 shield hits with a single shield. Now you can no longer do that. You can only get it in a partial way with some of the different fragments, and it still works decently well in most scenarios, but you can no longer get an infinite super, and it's just slightly less effective than it was before. That being said, having a longer super that you're very resistant, that has a melee, a range, and a defensive option is still very good and can be used in Grandmasters. Following that at number 6, we have the Crest of Alpha Loopy, which still continues to receive the award of best exotic that nobody uses. If you've never heard of it, you generate an orb of light from your supers, either from the first kill or from the activation, and you get a healing pulse when you activate your barricade, kind of like with Wormhusk. Now here's the thing, that is really good, and this season with bubbles being much faster charging makes it even better than that, especially as a swappable exotic. Now here's the thing, it's incredibly boring, and also your barricade obviously doesn't come out as often as a dodge from a hunter, but it does have good neutral game as well. So TLDR, it is good and is really nice for competitive, for trials, and is a swappable exotic, but it's just so boring. Oh, my bad. I think I've numbered these things wrong. The actual number 6 is gonna be Ursa Furiosa, so everything else just goes down by 1 and number 10 gets kicked out. So at number 6, Ursa Furiosa, obviously for PvE, this is a huge item. The fact that you can obviously block damage and protect your team, spawning orbs for your team, making them do more damage. In fact, the banner shield is the most damage bonus in the game right now, even more than that of the bubble, because why not? On top of being able to get around half of your super back just by blocking a bit of damage, and this exotic allows you to do just that. And while this technically is a very small thing, getting more super energy, being able to use it more often is very good. And in Grandmaster Nightfalls, you combine that with another Ursa Titan, or you combine that with a well and somebody else using something else, and you'll have a near 100% uptime on your actual super. So you prevent everyone from taking damage, they deal more damage, you spawn a ton of orbs for their supers, and you get it all the time. It's pretty darn amazing. And to be honest, Void 3.0 hasn't really affected it much. Considering that Banner Shield is on every subclass, it's really good. After that, at number 5, we have the Dune Marchers. Pretty much the same as it's been before. You get faster sprint speed, which is always good in a shooter game. You also get the static charge buildup from your melees, which actually can help you one-shot with your shoulder charges, which, if you don't know, the shoulder charges don't one-shot this season. That's weird. And to be honest, there's not much more to say about it. You run faster, you get the extra damage from the Shocky, it flinches enemies, hits enemies way too far away, through walls, off of ghosts. It's kind of ridiculous, and it works with any build. After that, at number 4, we have the One-Eyed Mask. If you personally don't like the Dune Marcher's aggressive gameplay, One-Eyed Mask may fit you better, as it's definitely more of a defensive option. Not to say that it's not aggressive capable, but defensive people can use this to great avail. And obviously, it is the same as it's been for quite a while. Being able to get that overshield from an enemy you're tracking down, being able to see the silhouette of an enemy is always really useful in Crucible. And fun fact, that overshield from One-Eyed Mask does stack on top of Void Overshield. So if you have the Bastion from the Barricade or a Bubble, both of those overshields stack together. And lastly, technically you could use it in PvE as well. If you find yourself with Falling Star dying a lot, you're not really useful to the team. This may end up being a better option. After that, at number 3, a new pick, we have the Lorelei Splendor Helm. And let me just say, it is at this rank after being nerfed twice. Yes, it got nerfed twice. When it first came out, you were able to get the healing off of sunspots. It activated from getting wounded off your feet pretty much every 3 seconds that you had it. It was kind of ridiculous. Nowadays, your sunspots heal you still. When you're critically wounded and you have full class ability, it uses your barricade to put a sunspot on the ground, or you could just use your barricade to put that sunspot on the ground. Now, there's a bunch of things you need to realize. For the PvP side of things, where it's a bit stronger these days, being able to get that 20% damage bonus just by putting your barricade down means you can one-shot with Ariana's Vow, a 72 RPM to the body, 2-shot with DMT, and 120 hand cannons. There's just so many different ways for you to use a barricade to get that kind of potential, which is usually reserved for getting a kill, like with Kill Clip, on top of also getting the regeneration to your abilities that Sunspot gives you. For the PvE side of things, you have to understand how difficult it is to usually get the Sunspot to activate. In higher level play, you're not going to be using your melee to get a kill, and you're definitely not going to be going up to your enemies with a melee. So you have to depend on either your grenade or your super. During your super, you don't care about your abilities. So using your grenade, which we're forced to use Thermite. And again, we may use our grenade and the enemy is far away from us and not close to us. This exotic allows us to put a sunspot on our foot at any time we have a barricade. That is really strong because sunspots give you extra weapon damage and gives you ability regeneration, which can then start spawning more sunspots and cause that to snowball out of control. This exotic is really good, and next season we're supposed to be getting Solar 3.0, or at least that's what I think, and this may end up being even better, even if they do nerf, and they are going to be nerfing the weapon damage bonus so you can't do all those aforementioned things. But for PvE, it should still be pretty good. After that, at number 2, we have the Heart of Inmost Light. Most people know this exotic because it's been out since Forsaken, and it is a very, very good exotic, and even got a little bit better this season, considering that Void 3.0 is really strong for the Titans, and having more of those abilities for your barricade, for your melee, for your grenade, faster regeneration, more hit points, more damage is always really, really strong. That being said, I actually really like using this for stasis, and that's the build I've been using for quite a while. Pretty much all season is with the stasis Titan, the super being incredibly damaging, using the glacier grenades and sliding through it, or using Witherhoard to bop it, getting those stasis crystals that count as elemental wells for me, elemental ordnance, and just getting those cycles over and over again. I get my grenade like every 15 seconds, which normally it takes, what, 2 minutes to charge a glacier grenade? So with Heart of Inmost Light, it's just so strong and so much fun, and I would highly recommend it. No matter what class or build you're using, it's really good. And finally, at number 1, Curse of a Falling Star. Everybody knows it and they love it. It does double the damage of a normal impact of the missile, and you also get an overshield, making it safe to approach on those big boy enemies. and technically is the only 9 out of 10 that the Titans have, and is really, really good. It is the de facto best choice when it comes to DPS, for just damage dump with heavy weapons, for raids, for different Nightfalls. It is an amazing choice and outclasses Celestial Nighthawk, Nova Bomb, Dawn Chorus by a pretty long shot. If you don't believe me, last season I actually measured all of the damage in DPS, and Falling Star was so far and above the best choice, it was ridiculous. That being said, some stuff has changed, and I will be retesting it very soon. And of course, a quick honorable mention to the Peacekeepers. If you don't know, they have to do with SMGs, and next season, they should actually end up being better with the mid-air accuracy things. Specifically, Peacekeepers are going to have a much better in-air accuracy on top of SMGs just coming up in the meta as a very good choice. You'll probably see it in the Crucible now. Next season, we expect it to be even better with all of those changes. So just keep that in mind. It's an excellent exotic. It's going to get even more excellenter. And with the top 10 out of the way, we're going to go ahead and go over all of the non-ranked items. Of course, talking about them all very briefly, talking about why they're not part of the top 10, talking about which ones are actually a lot of fun and deserve your attention. And I would highly recommend you watch this section because there's a lot of really good things that I cannot put in a list of 10. First up, an insurmountable skull fort. Actually did get worse this season because you can no longer one-shot with shoulder charge in the Crucible. Although in PvE, pretty much the same as before, it's melee based and is limited. Eternal Warrior, probably one of the best swappable exotics. The overshield is nice, it has resistance from the super, but yeah, you have to swap to it, so it's very limited. Helm was same 14, pretty much the same as it's always been, even though we did get Void 3.0, the use of this exotic hasn't changed, and furthermore, technically we're using Banner Shield for damage instead of Bubble, so we don't see it as often. After that, we have the Capris Horn, which gives you Barricade and Solar things, and it's the same as it always has been. It's just kind of finicky, and I don't really see a place, and I also don't see a place for it in Solar 3.0. The Mask of the Quiet One, kind of like a one-eyed mask in a poor man's version, but very undependable, and honestly the ability energy is what you want. Precious Scars give you some weird healing by matching your subclass to the damage type of your weapon, and then also helping your team whenever they revive you. It's very weird, and I'd rather use other things. The ACD feedback fence. While it looks cool, the fact is, whenever you're being meleeed is usually when you're about to die. Even though the resistance is high, it's not worth it. Ashen Wake, actually a really fun exotic. Allows you to get those one-shots in PvP with Roaring Flames. However, in PvE, it's undependable because you have to weaken enemies to a certain point, and it's like, what's the point? Titan's Ramparts, actually still really nice to use in PvP as a nice sniper perch, and technically can be used with the Bastion Overshield, which, you know, you can heal and shoot through a shield. Icefall Mantles. Nowadays, the fact that we have the Bastion Overshield just makes this so worthless, and you're moving so slow with it. I think they need to change this. The no backup plans technically did get a little bit changed. Now it's based on any Void melee kill, and Void 3.0 does make it a little bit more feasible, but shotguns have been lowering down in the meta, so it's pretty much the same as it was. The Strongholds, a number of bonuses to your swords that doesn't really make a big difference unless you like blocking. Worm God Caress, more melee damage for melee kills, and sometimes gives you 99999 on damage, but not this season. Axiom War Rigs, essentially an extended mag for your auto rifles or your heavy machine guns, and for some reason is a fan favorite, and I promise you, there are many better options. Armamentarium, a decent basic exotic, more grenade, more overflow charging, but overshadowed by Inmost Light for sure. Hellfire Heart is a very good solar-based exotic, allowing you to get your grenade and melee 2 times and even 4 times faster when you have your super. I would personally highly recommend, and for next season, Solar 3.0, it's gonna be really nice. The Hoarfrost Sea, one of the new Titan exotics that allows you to change your barricade into a bunch of stasis crystals, which inherently gives you bonuses for being near stasis crystals, or you can slide through them, or you can break them for shards. Gives you another way to give you those shards, but is not an amazing bonus, and Rally Barricade does a lot of similar things as well. Severance Enclosure, you get a big bada boom at you from a melee kill or a finisher, and obviously those are both dangerous. And honestly, not very high damage. Antaeus Wards, a decent option actually for the Crucible. You can reflect some projectiles, but you do have to get up to speed, making it a lot less consistent and omni-useful. MK44 Stand-Asides, pretty much the poor man's melee anything. It does half of what any of the other melee-specific exotics do, and it's so annoying to use. You have to be full health and shields, you have to be full sprint, you have to be using a shoulder charge. it's just not worth it. The Path of the Burning Steps, a little bit complicated, did give you a nice bonus, but when stasis stopped becoming the main important thing to use in the Crucible, it stopped being important to use this exotic. The Peregrine Greaves did get an indirect buff, and the fact that Shoulder Charge no longer one-shots, you do need this exotic in order to one-shot enemies. And furthermore, it does one-shot every single different type of super in the game, which is also really cool. Which before, all you did is you waited until an enemy super's on the field, then you swapped to it, which was not a good experience. The bigger issue here is that Shoulder Charge is not really in many good subclasses. Right now, Void is the only one where you can have some changes to what you want to do. The other two, it's just in bad subclasses. And finally, Phoenix Cradle, an exotic that allows your teammates to also get Sun Warrior from your sunspots, and it lasts twice as long, which is actually a nice buff. But pretty much the same reasoning as before is that getting Sun Warrior to work and proc where and when you want it is not consistent. Lorelei is the only thing that brings it to you very consistently. Although with Void 3.0 next season, if they change the way Sun Warrior interacts with the enemies and where you get it, it may end up being a nice option for raid stuff. And there you have it, there's the top 10. Furthermore, there's cute animals on screen right now, because I know a lot of you little buggers are about to click off the video, and I just wanted to just say, hey, take a look at the cute animals while I say thank you for watching the video. I really do appreciate it. Again, these videos would not be possible without my Patreon. So if you want to see them continue, please consider checking out my Patreon. Furthermore, hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. My name's Zychronic, and I'll see you guys on the next one.